the chairman of NCC Governing Board, the chair of NIPOST, the directors of the ministry, the executive vice chairman of NCC, the commissioners of NCC. You came here as commissioners designate, and you are now commissioners. You are indeed substantives. Then a board member of NIPOST, my colleagues from the ministry, ladies and gentlemen of the press, all other protocols duly and respectfully observed. Good afternoon, and may peace, mercy, and blessings of Almighty be upon you. It gives me a great pleasure to be here to administer your oath on behalf of the President of Nigeria, President Muhammad Buhari, GCFR. And I also want to use the opportunity to wish you all the best in discharging your own responsibility. And I pray to Almighty to guide you and make you very successful in delivering this responsibility. Furthermore, I want to use the opportunity once again to remind you on a few things. Firstly, Mr. President, President Muhammad Buhari was voted into office by Nigerians, and he appointed you to come and support him to deliver his own mandate the way he nominated me. So, because of this, we don't have any agenda beside the agenda of the President. We don't have any mission or vision beside the mission or vision of the President, because Nigerians voted for him into office, and we are here only to support him to deliver his mandate and at the same time fulfill all his promises to Nigerians. So that is why I want to use the opportunity to remind our incoming new members of our NCC board that we are not supposed to come on board with our own mission or vision, except that mission and vision of President Muhammad Buhari, which is around three pillars, as we all know. Firstly is the issue of security, which is very critical. And today, 90% of security lies on ICT. Being a board member of a very important commission like NCC, you have a significant role to play in eliminating or rather reducing the security challenges we have in Nigeria. Secondly, economy and fighting poverty. This is also very critical. ICT is very dynamic today. We must use our experience and our time to come up with specific policies that will improve the economy of the country and at the same time reduce the level of poverty. And thirdly, fighting corruption. As we all know, is leadership by example. If you want to support Mr. President in fighting corruption, then you must make sure that you start by fighting corruption within your own self. And this is also very important indeed, because charity begins at home. You cannot fight something that you are so much attached to it or addicted to it. So that is why I encourage our colleagues that join this board. It's very important to remain very upright, to try to be morally upright and support Mr. President in fighting corruption. And in the same lane, ICT plays a significant role in fighting corruption globally. And even in Nigeria, we have so many examples. With only the implementation of TSA, Treasury Single Account in Nigeria, federal government has been saving over 26 billion naira monthly. With the implementation of IPPIS, Integrated Personal Payroll Information System, huge amount of money has been saved by the federal government, which is usually in billions. This tells us that this responsibility given to us is a huge one, and we don't have any agenda beside the agenda of the president that appointed all of you here and that appointed or nominated all of us here. So I just want to remind this very important board that we don't have anything beside to support the president to deliver his promises to all Nigerians. With your chairman here who has experience, he has been there for few years, and with the executive vice chairman as well that has experience of the place, and also one of your colleagues here who is returning as the executive commissioner technical services, I believe we have a very strong team. People with experience within the commission and people that came with new ideas from outside the commission. With this, we will be able to make the commission to be very effective. As I said earlier, when I joined this ministry, we have an administration at the top level that came up with a slogan of next level. So now the ministry, as I said earlier, is a next level federal ministry of our communications. With this new blood and new ideas joining the board to complement the effort of the existing leadership, we anticipate to have a next level NCC in place. Inshallah. We must consider ourselves as brothers, and we must work with synergy. I hate a situation where there is always conflict between management on one hand and the board on the other. We have been appointed by the president to come and do this work. For the interest of the president and the interest of Nigeria, there must be synergy. We must respect one another. We must in any way avoid bringing any idea that will jeopardize the effort of the president or that of the commission. Anything that is illegal or illegitimate or informal should not be part of our deliberation during board meetings. Whenever we come and sit down to discuss, our agenda should be how to move the country forward, how to support this gentleman that appointed all of us. This should be at the center of our discussion. And I plead with all of you in any way, let us not push the management or the board to anything that is illegal. There are rules, regulations, there are federal government directives in place. We must comply. As a minister, whatever the federal government says, I must comply. When I feel I can't, then what is important is to clear the screen and allow somebody to come and occupy that position. The same with all of you. As long as federal government comes up with directives and policies, we must comply. Whenever someone feels that he cannot do it anymore, there are millions of Nigerians that are looking for that opportunity to do it. We just clear the screen and allow them to come and do it. We are not in any way to deliberate about the decision of the federal government, but rather to only work towards the implementation of the decisions. So whenever we have a discussion, our central point should be how to follow the rules and regulations, how to follow the presidential directives. That should be at the center of our discussion. If we do that, history will be very kind to all of us. We are going to write our names in gold. If we do otherwise, then definitely history is not going to be very kind to all of us because we have not been kind to ourselves. With this at the back of our mind, our agenda is to support Mr. President to deliver his mandate. Furthermore, the work of a board usually is a part-time job. It's not a full-time job. We must understand the relationship between the ministry, the board, and the management. The main responsibility of the ministry, firstly, is to come with broad policies. And that policies will be conveyed to the board and at the same time to the management for their information. The board will sit down on the policies and cascade them with some actionable plans on how to achieve them. The ministry supervises the agencies. The ministry gives policy direction. The ministry sanctions on behalf of the president. Whatever the ministry will do when it comes to policy will be conveyed to the board. Board will sit down and make that broad policy into specific ones, and at the same time cascade the policies and convey to management for implementation. This is in summary what these three bodies are going to do. Ministry is not in any way allowed to be part of the management day-to-day running the affairs of your commission. We are not in any way going to do that, and I will not allow any of my directors to do that. We just want to allow the management to have free hand to run the day-to-day activities of the commission. The same with the board. Board is not allowed in any way to get involved in running the affairs of the day-to-day for the commission. Only the management can do that. But board is superior to the management, and the ministry is superior to the board. Because of this, board has power to ask for clarification, to sit down and say, why are you doing this and that? They have that power. But the work of the board is clearly a part-time job, except otherwise stated. In your own case, you have some that are executive commissioners. Executive commissioners statutorily are full-time staff of the commission. Others are part-time. Being part-time doesn't mean that you cannot ask for clarification. You cannot question certain things. You cannot intervene. Being part-time, you can do that. But doing that should not in any way allow you to go into the day-to-day running the affairs of the commission. Finally, what is also very important for the management to know, whatever they do that is right, ministry will commend them, board will also commend them. Whatever they do that is wrong, we ask for clarification. If they fail to produce the clarification, they could either be sanctioned in some situation, they can be punished. So we are trying to be just. We give commendation, we encourage. Whenever there is challenge, we try to be in the forefront to support the board and the commission to overcome the challenge. If they do what is right, always expect our commendation. When we see wrong, we always query. And that is what we are here to do. So management has power to control the day-to-day affairs of the commission, most importantly by following due process, respecting the rule of law, respecting federal government directives through circulars, act, and many more. Board has power to cascade policies and at the same time to ask for clarification from time to time, and they also have power to sit down, review the budget to see whether it's in alignment with the policy that has been cascaded or not. These are some of the responsibilities that we are all to play. If you look at it clearly, there is a clear line of demarcation, which is very clear. So I want all of us to respect that line of demarcation. I will do my best at the ministerial level to make sure that we remain where we are supposed to be formally and officially. And I always encourage the board to be the same. And I believe with a gentleman like the chairman, you will not have any problem in that regard. Also with the EVC, I do expect that we will have an excellent management in place. Not the former management. We need a next level management, a next level board, and at the same time, a next level ministry. What I mean by saying that, we need to always challenge ourselves. Are you following? I encourage us to always challenge ourselves. If you set a record this year, what you are urged to do next year is to challenge your own success. So don't feel like I'm successful and that is over. No, you are to even challenge your success and see that you always try to improve. As long as you are a human being, there is always room for improvement. So we are supposed to always challenge our success and try to see how we can improve. At the end of my statement, I want to congratulate all of us as stakeholders of ICT. If you look at the contribution of ICT to GDP, it's really encouraging. And the credit is to all the stakeholders in the ICT sector. If you look at it in the second quarter of 2019, the contribution of non-oil sector to our GDP is 91.18%. The contribution of oil sector is 8.82%, while the contribution of ICT is 13.86%. 13.86%. This is really encouraging. As it is today, based on the report I received from the EVC through our inquiries, we have around 200 access gaps in Nigeria, with a population of close to 40 million people without access. So let us see how we can bridge this gap. These 200 communities and this population of almost 40 million without access to telecoms, let us see how we can bridge this gap. If we can achieve even 50 to 80% of that, then definitely, by implication, the contribution of ICT to our GDP will be able to be double that of our oil and gas within the next few years. So this is encouraging. We should try to see that we join our hands together to bridge that gap. Finally, which is also a breaking news. Last week, we officially contacted the management of NCC to give us a details, or rather the baseline performance of their briefing here. And I emphasize on the issue of pre-registered, unregistered, or incomplete registration of SIM. The statistic was really alarming and worrisome. What was sent to me last week was 9.2 million with improper registration. I was really flabbergasted and worried, because investigation reveals that 99% of crime being committed in Nigeria, SIM card is involved. Before you think of any economic benefit, the constitutional responsibility of the executive is the protection of lives and property. So the life of one innocent Nigeria is more important than any revenue federal government may get as a result of ignoring that improper documentation or registration. Because you cannot even think of any benefit of economic benefit except when you are alive. We know a few years that people were running away from their homes. Some are not even willing to go back after achieving a certain level of success in peace. Why? Because as long as there is no peace, nothing can be done. I am glad to say that we also wrote another letter to the management, and they replied today. Within this period of time, they were able to reduce the number significantly. Within this period, they were able to rectify at least 6,775,000 on incomplete registration. This has been rectified. So the total number of incomplete registration as it is today, based on the report I received today, is 2.42 million. So the reduction within this period is 73.61%. This has been achieved. I think this is a significant achievement. From 9.2 now is back to 2.4. Within this period, 6.775 million had been rectified, and this is highly commendable. I want to use the opportunity to commend the management, the board, and the entire ministry for the supervision. This is highly commendable. Please maintain the tempo. The next line of directives, work with the support of your board. We want to make sure by 25th September 2019, based on the report I received today, 25th September 2019, we don't want to have single incomplete registration of SIM in Nigeria. By 25th September 2019, we don't want to have single. So the remaining 2.4 should be rectified by 25th September, contrary to the initial date I have already given. So now is 25th September 2019. We just want to have. And in that direction, we urge the management to immediately inform the telecos. After 25th of September, when a crime is committed and SIM is being used, we only need the number of that SIM and convey it to the regulators. Within an hour, we want to get the details of the person who committed that crime. Even if that cannot stop people from committing crime, What we are interested, okay, let us know the identity of the person who committed the crime. If we can do that, I think a lot can be achieved. Let him go ahead and do, but we are sure that we know his identity. That identity can be presented to security agencies, and they will be able to trace him easily. So this is very important, I believe, with now a complete or almost complete board in place, distinguished senator and the chair of the board, and the EVC also here with us, I believe nothing is impossible within this time. However, if there is any challenge that either the board or the commission or both of them need from the ministry, we are always willing to come and work with you 100% to make sure we clear the challenge or the obstacle. Our aim is to work as a team. The success is for all of us. So these are the few words I have for you. I wish you all the best, and I once again pray to Almighty to make you very successful. The way you took your oath today, I hope you are going to exit after your first or second tenure ceremoniously. Thank you very much. No, after the minister is not allowed, based on protocol, is not maybe vote of tax, except tax. Executive
Solemnly swear that I will be faithful
you are returning, give him to.
and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that as a member of the governing board of the Nigeria Communications Commission, I will discharge my duties to the best of my ability, faithfully and in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the Nigerian Communications Act, that I will not allow my personal interest to influence my official conduct or my official decisions,
it's okay. If they mention it,
that I will, to the best of my ability,
if it is there, it's a never.
preserve, protect, and defend the interests of the Commission, that I will abide by the code of conduct contained in the 5th schedule of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that in all circumstances I will do right to all manner of people according to law without fear or favor, affection or ill will, that I will not directly communicate or reveal to any person any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall become known to me as a board member of the Nigerian Communications Commission, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as a member of the governing board of the Nigerian Communications Commission. So help you God. The Honorable Minister humbly and respectfully present to you the new members of the NCC Governing Board.
Yeah. Both of us agree that we are on the same page.
Yes.
In terms of those three issues you mentioned that are germane and of optimum, very close to the heart of our president.
Yes.
Especially the issue of integrity.
Yes.
Which I think is one of the things that advised him in selecting those he puts in these positions.
Thank you.
We cannot afford to fail in that field. Nigeria needs it. I also want to assure you, Honorable Minister, that apart from our headship of a professor in faith, doing the utmost they can. We are up to date about catching up with the rest of the world in the issue of digitalization. And we'll be briefing you how far we have gone about that. That's not situation here. So we can brief you what we have done. There are many brilliant Nigerians with the talents of Bill Gates and Zuckerberg who are not aware of what they have, and we don't know them. We have put in motion something that we identify them, whereby we train them so Nigeria can participate actively in the globalization, the digitalization revolution going on in the world. On the issue of doing our duty to see that the companies providing services, we are aware of people's criticisms, and we are on their neck. We're through persuasion and moral suasion, and using the sanction when it is necessary to make sure that every Nigerian is protected, especially the area of criminality that you touched. It touches our mind too, because we are all citizens of this country. Anything we can do is a duty, but we are duty bound to do the best we can to nip what that is going on. But one thing I want to realize that as we are planning, those criminals are very smart. They also go ahead of us. It is a competition. But
Almighty God is with us, don't
that's no doubt. Almighty God is behind the righteous fellow. We are going to win in the end. They will lose. The criminals will lose. Inshallah, you say.
Yeah, it's very good.
Then finally, we are seeking government cooperation too.
Yeah.
We have a plan, a robust plan to extend the fiber connectivity to all the 774 local governments recognized in the first schedule of the Nigerian Constitution, 1999. Yeah. And we will be talking to you about that. We've already hinted, Mr. President, before you came on board about it. And we hope we have your full cooperation about how to reach out to all the nooks and crannies of the country through fiber cables and through aerial communication links. Thank you very much indeed for your brilliant
from me. Yes. You have my support in this 100%. Part of the briefing, EVC met to us during his briefing when I resumed duty. He mentioned that, and we asked for more details from him, and he sent to me.
The board is fully behind him on it.
Sorry?
The board is fully behind him.
Yeah. So superficially, I had a discussion with Mr. President on that, but it's not for public. I already contacted him, and he directed me what to be done on that.
That's right.
So we are on track.
Thank you.
I wish all of you all the best. So Chairman has taken the time for EVC. Now EVC will be pushed back to say the closing prayers.
Okay.
My call for you. You can just make a call. Okay. Directors here are not bothered for so it will not make a difference.
I'm fine.
Directors should be in between.